This is Chet Holmgren, and I'm down to dunk.
This is AJ Mitchell, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Alex Crusoe, and I'm down to dunk.
It's like baby bottle pop. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is Adam Flagler, and I'm down to dunk.
Hey, it's Isaiah Hartenstein, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Cason Wallace, and I'm down to dunk.
I can't spell Lucas. Hey, how do you spell Lucas? How do you spell Lucas?
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
This is Nikola Topic, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Dylan Jones, and I'm down to dunk. This is Isaiah Joe, and I'm down to dunk.
And there's probably like 50 to 75 Beanie Babies.
Give me like your top 3 Pokemon.
Bro, I can't even name.
This is Jay Will, and I'm down to dunk.
Sometimes the way his brain works is it leaves a lot to be desired.
This is Kenrich Williams, and I'm down to dunk.
Charmander.
Charmander.
Or you're more of a Charmeleon guy.
Charmeleon.
This is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and I'm down to dunk.
Schlecht. You know what it means? Yeah.
That means like bad.
It means bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
Well, it was a good interview, so it wasn't bad.
J-Dub, year 3, and I'm down to dunk for the 3rd time. Thank you.
Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schlecht. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me early on a Monday morning is my good friend, Michele Berra. Michele, what's up?
Hello, darkness, my old friend. It's a Monday. Yes, it's not the Monday that we hoped for. It's kind of a sad Monday, I would say. I mean, not sad in general terms, but the game was what it was. But the news, it's bad, quite bad.
Yeah, I mean the game actually got really fun toward the end, but honestly, everybody only cared about Chet, at this point. And so I'm just going to read this press release that was put out by the Thunder last night, late last night, and, kept me awake for a while. And then I woke up, life goes on. Kids got to go to school. We wake up. So Thunder injury update. The Oklahoma City Thunder announced today that forward center Chet Holmgren sustained a right iliac wing fracture during the first quarter of Sunday's contest against the Golden State Warriors. Holmgren is expected to return during the 24-25 season, and an update on his return to play protocol will be provided in 8 to 10 weeks. So huge bummer. The fall looked really bad last night.
Yeah.
And I was afraid that it was going to be the joint in his hip. Yeah. And if it's the joint in his hip, I spoke to a very experienced orthopedic surgeon this morning, who will remain anonymous, but I will remain very grateful for this, for this person. So just to kind of talk about the injury itself, if it was the joint, it would be bad. Like, he would probably not ever be the same. But with this injury, with this right iliac wing fracture, so it's just kind of like the top of your hip bone. It's like the hip, like your hip bone that you can feel. Yeah. He said it's very painful. He said that it's takes time to heal. It does not require surgery. There's no mention of surgery in the press release. And then talking to the physician, he said it does not require surgery. It just takes a long time for it to heal. But there's like some good news within it. Obviously, like, this all sucks. So I don't want to sit here and try to sugarcoat any of this, because this super sucks. Like, this is a huge deal for the Thunder season. But for some good things, though, I would say he's probably going to be back before the playoffs. Should be feeling good for the playoffs. If everything goes well, if all the healing goes well, everything goes as planned.
Yeah.
So he should be okay. And then long term, there's not really effects long term for this, which is also good. Whereas if it were something different, if it was at the joint or something like that, then you're in big trouble. But yeah, it's a bummer. If we're talking, 8 to 10 weeks out from figuring out how he's going to ramp up, we're talking February at this point. Like
Yeah.
maybe we're targeting like after the All-Star break.
Yeah,
or
maybe March, getting back to some sort of 5-on-5, maybe mid-March coming back to play, maybe even early March coming back to
I was going
play.
to say, I think there's going to be a big chunk of games that, and this is just my speculation, but if we're at 8 to 10 weeks and then have this ramp up period, my guess is that there will be a chunk of games that Chet will be able to play in, before the playoffs. Again, this is all assuming everything goes well. You just never know. I mean, we've been through the navicular bone, like we know that not everything goes well. Now, this is a different case than something like what Kevin went through, or even what Chet went through a couple years ago. This is a very different injury. It's a very freak injury. Like this is it's so strange. Like trying to find where other players have had an injury like this is I don't know. I don't see anything else. I don't see this iliac wing, this right iliac wing for anybody else, which is not necessarily comforting.
It's because it's too skinny. I mean, Jokic in the end was right. He needs to get a little bit fatter. And
I bet you couldn't even feel Jokic's iliac wing.
Exactly. No, I'm mostly kidding, but it puts the season in a completely different perspective. Nobody should assume what kind of version of Chet will be back one way or the other, because we don't know, and it's not even 12 hours, maybe 12 hours or 16 hours then the injury occurred. So nobody can really know what kind of fracture he has, what kind of pain he is in, what kind of rehabilitation he can do, what kind of muscle loss he's facing. So these things, probably the fact that 8 to 10 weeks is the full, complete rest time. Yeah. And as soon as you are over that, then it starts to say, okay, what happens next? What is the prognosis? What is the status of the body after 8 weeks of probably complete stillness? Which
I think he's in enough pain where he's not going to be able to move a whole lot, at least for the time being. And I know that they have like machines that will move your joints and stuff for you in like a safe way. I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know what that will look like. But yeah, you're right. There's going to be some like conditioning stuff that he's going to have to work on before he's able to get back on the court. There's no question about that. And that's why they say, 8 to 10 weeks with an update on his return to play protocol, is because one, you just don't know. So again, 8 to 10 weeks doesn't mean he's back in 8 to 10 weeks.
No,
it means
it starts.
Yeah, it means that's when we will know. As soon as 8 weeks from now, and as long as 10 weeks from now, we will have a plan and a better idea of when he's coming back this season. And they wouldn't put it in the press release if they weren't optimistic for him to return. So, they write Holmgren is expected to return during the 2024-25 season. So that to me is like, if you're looking for any shred of good news, like that's the good news, because I just thought this dude he could be done. Like this could be really, really bad. And so,
it's more the reaction than the fall, in my opinion. The fact that he was down in pain, it was something that, because I looked at the fall multiple times, like everybody probably, and it's not terrible. The first thing that I thought was, okay, that is a elbow / knee / something that hit him from Wiggins, but it's not that. It's maybe the left arm of Wiggins that pushed Chet a little bit, and it causes the wrong.
Wiggins must be so strong.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like that was like they both collided midair. And then for Wiggins to basically like get his feet just out to the side of him. It looked so bad. It looked really, really bad.
Yeah. But again, to me, the worst part was seeing Chet like in clear pain.
We couldn't get up, and then
Yeah.
and then like the whole scene was really something because they couldn't. They needed strong guys to get him up, and the two strong guys that were available happened to be the two centers that were already injured. Helping him up to get out of there, and it was very symbolic of like what's happened so far this season with the Thunder's bigs, that the two guys that are out are carrying the guy out that is just going out. I mean, there's a photo of him that was on the AP site of him giving the thumbs up, going out of there with Jay Will and Hartenstein on either shoulder. But yeah, it was bad. I mean, you knew it was bad when they got him up, and you could see him trying to get his foot underneath him, and it looked like a limp noodle. Like he just couldn't get his foot up from underneath him. It just started to drag, and it was just like, oh no. And you could hear the crowd just like, oh, and everybody saw that. It was a terrible scene. It was a terrible scene, and you just feel awful for Chet because he's been through a horrific injury already in his career, and now he has this, and he's tweeting, and he's on Instagram, and he said, I don't know if you saw this. I'm sure everybody that's listening has seen this by now, but I'll go ahead and read his tweet. This was at 12:55 a.m. Central Time last night. He said, "Can't tell if I'm better or worse about this, having been through something similar before. On one hand, I know how to approach it. I know what to do. I know what not to do and how beautiful the other side is. But on the other hand, I have felt the frustration of this process and the wear it puts on your mind. Most of all, I'm hurt I can't help my teammates and play for our fans and supporters for a while. Everyone who sticks with me and our team, along with my need for hoops, is a big part of my passion to return. Don't pity me or feel bad. There's a lot of people out there right now with real problems that don't heal." That's deep. Yeah. Anyways, excuse my rambling. Just wanted to address our OKC fans and family. Heart. Thanks for our thoughts. Golly, this early. Thoughts from the hospital bed. 7. So that, clearly mentally he's going through it. And then he tweeted 6 hours ago, "I can't believe this MF still made the lay. WTF, I'm pissed." I know it's quite a play from Williams. I mean, that was really something. But yeah, it's just a big bummer. There's really just no way around it. Like this is supposed to be like a dream season, and I don't think some people are being super dramatic about it, like season's over, yada yada. They're probably going to go another couple weeks without any big men, and that is going to be a very interesting stretch, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But Isaiah Hartenstein is coming back, and the hand heals. His hand should be healed, within a couple weeks or so, 2 or 3 weeks for sure. And then having Isaiah Hartenstein as your full-time center is not a bad thing. Ask the Knicks,
Yeah.
It went quite well for the Knicks. And so they're going to be really different. I think that this, there could be some blessings in disguise that happen throughout this process, and that they learn how to really play with Hartenstein and what they can do like in a series with people, because we saw against the Mavs that they just needed, they kept throwing their fastball and the Mavs kept hitting it. And now they need something different. And you don't exactly play the exact way that you would play with Chet that you'd play with Hartenstein.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really interested to see what that looks like. Jay will eventually come back too, and you'll have like a regular center rotation around this team. And I think they're still going to win a lot of games. I think having Hartenstein and Caruso is going to allow you to win a lot of games, added to this group. But it is a bummer. Chet, you saw it really quick last night. Like the interior defense and what Chet does to just bend the game for the other team is huge. He makes such a huge impact, especially defensively, that it was felt right away. And so you worry about, they play the Clippers tonight in Oklahoma City. It's probably kind of nice to have just a game to play, as you process this. It's probably good to just, there's a lot of emotion there and you just kind of want to go play. New Orleans is all banged up. No one's going to be crying for anybody on Wednesday night in Oklahoma City. And then Friday, same thing. I mean, Bradley Beal got hurt last night. I don't really know what his status is, but Kevin Durant's not playing on Friday.
Yeah.
So these teams aren't going to be crying for each other. And then like a really tough one will be Dallas on the 17th. But then they have San Antonio and Portland. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. And then they have 4 games off before they go on the road for the last week. And you would think that's around the time that Hartenstein could come back. I wonder if it's after that road trip that he comes back. But the schedule has ended up being a little bit more kind to the Thunder in that there are these injuries that these other teams have suffered. And so it's not quite the gauntlet that it may have looked like when you look at Clippers, Pelicans, Suns, Mavs, like it looks a lot different than what we thought it would be. But still they're going to have to figure a lot of stuff out, and they're going to have to, they've played small and had a lot of success playing small, but they've also had like Kenrich Williams during those stretches, and they've had guys that have a little bit more toughness. And I don't know where Kenrich is. I mean, they've assigned him to the G League twice. I'm making no assumptions on where he is at physically. So we'll see where that goes. It would be great to have him back because, Oos is the tallest guy, but like he certainly doesn't play like the tallest guy for this team,
Yeah.
I would almost
There's
say
a lot of Dylan Jones.
Dylan Jones. Yeah, I mean, we are gonna find out a lot about Dylan Jones over the course of these next couple of weeks. It would be my guess, but overall, it just super duper sucks.
Yeah, but let's try to find all the bright sides possible, which is a hard thing to do because it's Chet and we had Depoy / All-Star / whatever.
Yeah, he was gonna. I mean, he was headed toward an All-Star game. He was headed toward being in like the top 3 for defensive player of the year. And probably if the Thunder kept the defense up, he's probably gonna win it. Maybe when I finish my coffee here, I'll feel a little bit better.
Yeah. But let's pause and look back.
Okay. Somebody's asking in the chat. I just need people to know this. This is Daniel in the chat. So Chet is out the year. Chet is not out for the season.
Yeah.
They have not declared he's out for the season. The expectation from the Thunder, and this is their words, Holmgren is expected to return during the 24-25 season. And that my guess is that we get to March, late February, in February, that would have been 10 weeks. We will get an update on where he's at and how he's feeling and what the ramp up period looks like. And then we will get a more defined timeline of when we'll see him. And my guess is that we'll get to see him play again, assuming all goes well. We'll get to see him play a chunk of games in March and get him ready for the playoffs. And like that would be what, if we're looking at the press release and taking it for what it's worth, and I'm taking the information that I got from the orthopedic surgeon this morning, that the expectation is that he could play in March, April, and then the playoffs start mid-April. So it's not good, but it's also there are some bright things about it. So anyways, I don't want people to come into this stream confused about where we're at, because it's important that Thunder fans know that like this is not a lost season for Chet or for the Thunder, And
it's different. It's going to be it's not going to be a 60+ win season. I don't think that will be the case.
Very unlikely.
Very unlikely, exactly. And I also want to address something that Kristen A said in the chat: 3-season, 2 major injuries for Chet. That is true.
Yeah,
but it's not something that I would place on his body. I mean, these are weird injuries that happen for sure. Maybe Chet will have to learn what he can do and what he can't do with that body, meaning he puts his body into many dangerous situations. Maybe something to that end he will learn how to do that, maybe. But I want to go back to the positive things. And among the positive things, I would put the game of against the Warriors, because it took the Warriors hitting 50% of their threes in order to beat the Thunder, which is something that they can do for sure. There is something that OKC can do to defend a little bit better, because D'Anthony Melton was treated like a non-shooter, and it clearly is not. So there is something that you can do. Draymond Green, I don't particularly care. D'Anthony Melton is a guy who can get hot. I think OKC did a masterful job on Buddy Hield, did a decent enough job on Steph Curry, who hit some just crazy, wacky shots like he always does. But overall, I mean, it took them shooting lights out in order to beat this version of the team, which I think had a lot of open threes that they didn't hit. They had a subpar offensive performance from Shea, who was kind of rattled and not 100%. So this is a positive.
Which, by the way, is understandable. I think that everyone felt that way after Chet went down.
Yeah. And then they fought back, which I thought. I was watching the game, and then when the injury happened, I checked the feed and I saw the results and said, "Oh, okay, they will." It's on a back-to-back. They will have all the B squad playing the fourth quarter. No, they actually had their two A teams getting at each other, and OKC tried to make it a game, which is so extremely important.
They got it within 6. They got it within 6. It was really fun. It got really loud in the arena last night, and you got to give so much credit to these guys, and credit to like the group that brought them back, like that included Isaiah Joe, and AJ Mitchell was leading that group. AJ played over 20 minutes, and like, man, the praise that he gets from his teammates and stuff. I mean, I was asking Lou last night after the game, like if he's had conversations with AJ, just because he was a two-way as well, coming into the season. He was like, he said he basically said, like, he is so much further along than I was whenever I was a two-way. He's like, he's ready to play now. And I was like, tell me what you mean. Because like, I just remember Lou Dort when Lou Dort first got his first opportunity, like Lou looked ready, to me, and so I was like a little bit like, well, explain to me what that means, because you looked, it took a while for him to get an opportunity. I think that's what he was talking about when he's saying he's way more ready than I was. But I just remember when Lou came in, like right away, made this impact that was just like, what? Like he looked ready to me. But Lou's like, everybody's so impressed. J-Dub, like he's like, this guy just keeps, learning and figuring things out on the fly that like take people a long time to figure out. And then last night, like he was a huge part of how they got back in this game. I was very impressed with AJ, but honestly, like I didn't expect much from him at all, and I honestly expected things to be pretty negative defensively for him.
Yeah,
and he's not.
He's not bad. He's not bad defensively, which is
yeah.
I mean, he had moments against Steph that weren't bad. He was not embarrassed. I mean, Steph is the ultimate test in your focus. There were two moments, one for Kazan, one for Lou, where they just lost the split of a second of attention on Steph, and he just punched them both. AJ Mitchell, he was good, and this is surprising because Chet was having. Chet. Steph was having. Yes, Chet is all over my thoughts. Steph was having it. It was one of the nights where he can go for 50 if he wants to.
Yeah.
And at times it was AJ on him, and he was not bad. So that is a very good news. I mean, the Clippers are probably a bad test for them because I mean they have Zubat, which is very good.
But here's the interesting
Zubat instead of Zubats.
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 Zubats. There's lots of
I have
Zubats.
too much Pokemon in my life right now.
It is a
and I'm,
Pokemon, man. And a Zubats is a Pokemon, and
Yes.
that's his name. So there's that. Yeah, I wonder though. Sometimes this happens, and we actually have seen this with, when the Thunder play Valanciunas, is that there's this temptation for teams, and I think it's just like this natural temptation that when you have a big and you're playing a small team, that you want to post them up
Mhm.
over and over again. And it could go poorly. Like he could score, 1.5 points per possession, getting the ball, 7 or 8 times, and then like you're kind of screwed. Or he could score what like normal post ups are, which are inefficient. And then it ends up being a good thing for the Thunder. So on the boards he's going to eat. It's going to be terrible. But like offensively, I just wonder if there will just be too tempted when they see like Alex Caruso or whoever on him, and they're gonna swarm and recover, and they're gonna play their butts off tonight. Like I can promise you that. Like they're gonna play so hard. So I don't know. I expect this team to emotionally bounce back today, even though they kind of already did emotionally bounce back, which was really shocking. I think that, if I saw my teammate go down like that, I don't know that I would have bounced back like that. But anyways, I do think it's going to be interesting to see how they handle these bigs over the course of the next few games. We've already seen, Yusuf Nurkic absolutely destroy the Thunder last year. And he'll be in OKC on Friday. So I don't know. I'm rambling this morning. I've got like 3 hours of sleep, and I'm just finishing my first coffee. So I'm sorry. I feel like I've just like steamrolled you this whole podcast. Kelly.
No. Yeah, I mean, I really think that we should pause and not really give into the negative feelings that are there, because it's clear that it's not ideal. It's clear that it's not what we hoped for, but there is also a kind of a release valve. I mean, they had very high expectations. They had probably 60 wins, or it's a lost season. They had all these thoughts, which now they can stop and reset. It's about creating the best conditions, learn a lot from this season to be the best version of ourselves coming playoffs time, getting the best seeds possible. It might be the 6th seed. It might be the 4th seed. A lot is up in the air, mainly because they can't count on 35 minutes of Hartenstein whenever he comes back. They will need learning how to play in different ways. They will. It's a season where you are basically allowed to be a little bit worse than what the predictions were, and doing it without really being forced. So it's a season where you can do a lot of good for the future, and without really losing anything, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that they, this is when you kind of you have a chance to kind of discover some things about your team and your roster as well. And like I think it is a good reminder. Like this, it feels big. This feels big today because it is big, and it's big news, and it's a bad injury. And I think people's first thought is like, okay, can they just waive Leon's and then go pick up a center that's a veteran, or can they make a trade or whatever? I mean,
yes, but please not Vucevic. Like, guys.
Oh no.
No. There are like comments in the chat about Voots.
No.
Listen, I would rather play Cason Wallace at the center. This is where
absolutely.
I am today.
I think that I think if you're the Thunder, I think you would rather figure out more things about the players that you have than bring in some guy that's going to play for, really just like 3 weeks, and then, Hartenstein is back. Then like, what's the point? Like I don't see the point in trying to bring somebody in right now. I would rather figure out what you have with this group, see if there's something that you can uncover playing super duper small, especially now that you have Caruso, like trying to figure out some stuff with him, playing small over the course of the next few weeks, get Hartenstein back, get your curveball ready for the playoffs with Hartenstein and Shea and Dub, and then bring Chet back in the fold and do whatever you can to figure out as much as you can with that group. And then you get into the playoffs and you just have to see what happens. You know, I mean, that to me, like, that is like the ideal timeline of what this looks like for the Thunder. I don't think it involves, I'll say this. I would be surprised, because I just don't know. I would be surprised if a trade were the solution to any of these problems. I would be surprised if a free agent acquisition were going to be like the solve for this. Like, I just would be surprised. You know, they may go get a bigger body. I mean, honestly, they brought in Leon's because he is a bigger body. But I wonder if they would go get somebody else just from the G League or something. They don't really have anybody with the blue. That's big.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not against, especially if you don't think that Jay will be back before January. If that is what they have, then maybe having a big body. Call the EuroLeague. I don't even know where he plays. Do you want to have Vesenko, someone that hits 8 threes, is not really a big man, but he is tall? Do you want something like that? You can probably do it. And I think that, again, if Hartenstein is your lone big, because Jay Will is not back by, I don't know, the first 15 days of January, then maybe you get someone. You can do that, but it's not about replacing Chet. It's about having someone that plays that role. I also think that, again, it may be, hey, let's find a way to give Oos and Dylan Jones a chance. We may win 46 games instead of 52. Is that we may be in the play-in or in the 6th seed compared to being in the 5th seed or 4th seed? Does that really matter for us? I think that this is a real question. I don't think that they are going to miss the playoffs as constructed. I really don't think so, even without Chet.
No, I don't think so either. I think that when Hartenstein gets back, I think that they're going to be quite good. So I don't think that is the case either. I think that they're gonna be fine. Like, they still have Dub and Shea and this whole group. I think that they're going to be really good. I mean, I think adding if they didn't have Hartenstein, I would be very worried. I would be very, very worried. Like, if he wasn't coming back, or if they just didn't have him, period, I would be very worried. Like, that acquisition was already a big one for the Thunder, and now it's like, oh my gosh! Like, I don't know what I would be predicting today if they didn't make that acquisition this summer. I think it becomes so important, and we've seen him. You know, we've seen Hartenstein come in, you know, with the Knicks and play a very big role and do very well for them as a passer, a scorer. Obviously, the rim defense is some of the best in the NBA. So there's a lot. You know, it's so good that they got him in free agency. It's so good. I think that, honestly, I believe that saved their season, because I don't know how you could go through, you know, the 8 weeks or 10 weeks or whatever it ends up being without a center at all, and make the playoffs in this Western Conference. Because, I mean, they did it, you know, when Chet was out, but they didn't end up making the playoffs. They lost in the play-in, and this team is older, more experienced. If you just gave them that scenario again, I think they could scrap and maybe get the 6th seed. They could scrap and maybe get, you know, the 7th or 8th seed, and then win a play-in game and then get into the playoffs. Like, I think, yes, they could. But because they have Hartenstein, I think that my thought is, like, they still have a really good shot to be a top 6 team. And honestly, a team that is going like if they're in the 4-5 matchup, that would be one of the scariest 4-5 teams ever.
Yeah, ever.
Honestly.
Yeah.
And if you're a team that like fights to get to the 4-5 and you play them, it's going to be like, holy smokes, we got to play that team because like Chet will be ramping up. You'll get Hartenstein. You have, a guy who we haven't really seen play like an MVP yet, but you have Shea, who is an MVP caliber player. You have Dub, who is, I'll say this to Dub: go get the All-Star game.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
Like the opportunity is here now for him. Like I think it was already there. I was always kind of a believer that he could be the one to get there.
Mhm.
And now like the runway is completely open for him to take that. And for over the next several weeks for him to be, this second play and second fiddle to Shea in a really big way because tons of shots are available now.
Yeah.
And the opportunity is there, and so I'm intrigued to see what that looks like. But yeah, not a lost season, and a lot of it is because one, the brilliance of Sam Presti with this roster, but like to get Hartenstein is now outrageously important.
Yeah. I think that it's even trading for a guy like Robert Williams, the Time Lord. I don't think that they would do it.
I mean, he's always injured. I mean, it's
Yeah, I know. Just as a hey, let's see. I don't think that is the way to go.
Yeah.
There might be someone who can really fill those 10 to 15 minutes, but again, it doesn't need to be something long term. So it's weird. I do think that they showed even last night that they are completely fine going 5 small. And in some cases, I mean, the opponents will just not play their centers because it's the way to go against that 5 team. Does it put a toll on their bodies? Yes. But as you mentioned, Dub and Shea need to find a way to carry this team to a different level. They can do it with or without Hartenstein. I think that Jang and Dylan Jones are not the best players to have at the center position, but they offer different stuff that they might use. I mean, I really think that Cason Wallace is another guy that really needs to take a step forward. He was one of the catalysts yesterday. Yeah,
so good yesterday. He was so good yesterday.
Yeah, I think this scrappy mentality where they have to fight on every single possession. It's what they need to show. And again, it might be that they will find themselves in a better spot compared to where they were, where they would have been playing with the full squad, because they need to find different type of defense that are not centered on the fact that you have a back line of defense that is awesome. You need to do it differently, and they will learn to do different stuff. Learning through adversity is a cliche, I know, but this applies to this team. They will learn how to play without Chet, and this is again without the pressure of getting to 60 wins, because that is without the pressure to be the number 1 seed. They can just be the best version of themselves coming playoffs time, because Chet will probably be ready for that. And we'll see. I mean, it's really about improving, and there are a lot of comments in the chat, and you allude to that as well. Shea will be better. I think that Shea will be better than this. The beginning of the season, first was a lot of threes. Now it's a little bit of a hitch or glitch in his way of playing. He's turning the ball over a little bit too much. It happens. It might be whatever. We'll see probably a better version of Shea in the next few weeks, and we'll see what that amounts to, because I think that this team is so much better than what the team that won 42 games without Chet 2 years ago. It's just a night and day. They have so much depth, many more players to get to. So it's just different.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, I do expect them to step up, and I do expect them to play well, in the stretch. And like I said, like they're not the only team that's suffered injuries. They're not the only team that this current time is difficult for. And so it comes down to like the heart of this team a little bit and what that looks like. And we saw last night, they were close. And Mark Degnan, Mark was so mad about this. I could see how frustrated he was, from my seat last night. And I had to ask him about, specifically, there was the play with Draymond where Dre and Lou kind of get tied up. And Lou said after the game, he grabbed Draymond around the hip and kind of pulled him. And then Draymond flung his arm and smacked Lou in the head.
Yeah.
And, I asked Mark just if he got a clear explanation of that. And like Mark's frustration last night with that was that anytime any player gets hit in the head or neck area, it triggers, or it should trigger, immediate review.
Yeah.
And it did not. And because it didn't trigger the review, he had to use his challenge, which he ended up losing because Lou fouled him first. And he didn't retain his challenge. And he was most frustrated because of that. Because one, like there's a point left on the board. Like there's a point left out there. Like they need to go get that point. And if he triggers the review, he's gonna get a tech. And so the call was weird. Have you ever heard of an unsportsmanlike flail? I've been watching basketball a long time, and I watch a lot of basketball right now, and I have never heard unsportsmanlike flail before.
Yeah, I have no idea what that means.
Lou said, I don't think he meant to do it. Whatever. I am just shocked that he didn't get thrown from that game. I mean, he made contact with his head in like a very irresponsible way. Like he should have been thrown from that game. Like I firmly believe that. I think that and Draymond this is his thing, is like the bar is set for Draymond to just be a crazy person. And so once he meets that expectation, no one's surprised. And he has more leeway than almost anybody in the NBA.
And on top of this specific call, I kind of think that OKC is being treated differently, which this will sound so bad and so homerish, and I'm sorry, but the stats show that OKC is one of the last team in free throw rate.
Mm-hmm.
They had
probably
55 attempts at the rim last night, 40,
something like that. Drives by a mile again. And the free throw rate is
in free throw rate.
Yeah, and Mark has been asked about it, and he's trying to be nice.
Yeah,
he's trying to be nice, but it's
that is not okay. That is weird, because if you are a team that basically plays a lot of what you do on drives, I'm not saying that you have to be rewarded by that, but at least you need to have equal opportunities, which it's not something that is happening right now. Shea took a lot of free throws, but not free. They are the Charlotte Hornets are the last team at 0.207. Okay, see, it's 0.212. The first team in the league is the Utah Jazz and the Philadelphia 76ers and the Nuggets at more than 300 in terms of free throw rate. So I really think that OKC should be in the top 5 of this category, because they are generating a crazy amount of contacts at the rim.
Yes.
And it's just it is what it is. But this is something that I hope it will correct itself soon, because it's really it's difficult to understand. I mean, I don't understand. I cannot have an answer of how this team can be, again, one of the leading team in drives and not having this amount of free throws.
Yeah, I mean, it would change. I mean, we're talking just like 4 more free throws a game. We're not talking like 10. You know, if they got 4 more a game, it would change.
That's
a lot.
3.5 points.
Yeah, I mean, it would give the Thunder a much better offensive rating than what they have now. I mean, they're 14th in offensive rating. They're still number 1 in defense by a substantial margin.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be helpful. I mean, they're at 112.8 points per 100 possessions. If they were up even 2 points from there, now we're talking top 10 offense. You know, like it's the difference between a mediocre offense in the NBA and a top 10 offense in the NBA.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if that tide starts to turn a little bit too for them, because they do the free throw stuff is weird and it is kind of messed up.
Mhm.
And so I wonder when that. I just have to believe it's going to turn. I just have to believe it's going to turn. So, yeah. Who do you if Mark Daignault knocked on your door this morning?
Hello.
One that
Who's
would
there?
One that would be so strange if he just showed up in Italy just to see you. And he was like,
It would be
"Michele."
awesome.
He's like, Michele, let's sit down, have a cappuccino together, and let's talk about this starting lineup because I need. Who are we starting tonight against the Clippers, Michele?
We would just start. Mark, thank you for being here. It's 10 hours flight. I don't know how he did it, but anyhow, there is your Italian cappuccino with a little bit of cinnamon if you want. Anyhow, it's going to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Lou Dort, Cason Wallace, Alex Caruso, and J-Dub. Did I say J-Dub twice? Anyhow.
That makes the most sense to me too.
Yeah.
I think that we'll finally get to see Caruso start, or he'll just start Oos or Dylan Jones and just.
No.
I just think that is a lineup that the other team can look at and be like, wait, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's how you have to handle this period of time when you don't have Hartenstein, is let's be so fast and play so weird that teams we're going to be so unconventional that people aren't going to know how to handle us, and that it's not going to be the other way around, that we're so small that we don't know how to handle them. I think they have the pieces, and the lineup that you described is the lineup that people can look at and say, this is incredibly maybe the feistiest lineup in the NBA, and then offensively, as long as Alex Caruso can get himself out of the singler zone, we can. They're gonna be that's a dangerous lineup. And Caruso hit a 3 last night. He had some great. I mean, as a playmaker, he's pretty good. And they just need guys to make shots at that point. But defensively, I still think they have a shot to be really, really good. Now it's going to be about how hard do you compete on the glass, because that's going to be the thing that's going to make the biggest difference. Is can we keep the other team's possessions down, and can we generate enough turnovers to win the possession battle? Because that's how the Thunder win games, is they consistently win the possession battle. And if they can win the possession battle with steals and fight hard enough on the boards, I think this stretch will be fine. Did he not hit a 3 yesterday? Am I losing my brain? I probably am. Caruso. No, he didn't hit a 3. I'm sorry. That's my fault. I must be thinking of a different game.
It was the one against it was down to dunk night.
It was down to dunk night. He played great on down to dunk night.
Yeah.
We just need to have down to dunk night every night. Thanks for the heads up on that, Matt, in the chat. But Caruso, we need Caruso to be more normal. Alex Caruso is what we need.
And I think that the teammates should start hitting him more frequently in zones that he likes. I think that playing him as a de facto center is something that can help them quite a lot, because I think that the top of the key 3, just giving him more reps on that end, I think giving him more shots, I think it's what it should be. And this is another benefit of being another blessing in disguise, if you want, of this era, because I really think that this 4 or 5 months will be opportunities here and there. And I think that if there is a coach who can get out stuff from these opportunities, is Mark Daignault, which again will coach this team crazily well.
We've seen it before. We've seen like when all the chips are down, we've seen it. We've seen it with him. We've seen when things aren't going well, we've seen him really show up as coach this team well. So yeah, I do expect that to go well. With just like the coaching aspect. Now it's going to be on this team to make shots. It's going to be on this team to really fight on the boards. They're going to be small. I mean, it's being mentioned in the chat. Like, this is the smallest team in the NBA, like by a substantial margin. And even the guys that are bigger, really the only guy that's above 6'6" is Ousmane Dieng. And like we all know like Ous plays smaller than, he plays smaller than the smallest guy on the team a lot of times.
Yeah, which is part of the issue with Ous. But anyhow,
nature
let's not, I mean, it's not that we are here trying to spin this as a good thing, but I think that we should be really looking forward to whatever this team will learn, because it's again, it's I
mean, that's just life though. Like what you're describing is just like that's life. Is that we are, and this can be basketball, this can be whatever happens at work, this can be what happens at home. When there is a setback, when there is something that happens that is out of your control, this is like where you find that's when you find out like who you are. This is where you find out what this team is. This is where you find out what Mark Daignault is. This is where you find out what Shea is. When things happen,
this is where you find out how we will handle it as a podcaster unit.
Exactly. This is where you find out like what Down to Dunk is. I mean, this is like deep character work, and like that. No one really cares. Like, I don't know. You're not listening to this podcast to hear about this, but like this is where like deep character work happens. It's like when things don't go well, who are you? What do you do? How do you react? Do you fight? Do you retreat? Do you get nervous? Do you what happens? When something bad happens to you, what do you do? And I believe like this team has the leadership in place from top down, from all the way up to Clay Bennett, to Presti, to Mark, to Shea. Like they all have the character of somebody that you would want to have in moments like this. And I know it may sound cheesy, but like seriously, like and I tell my kids this all the time, like one of the secrets of life is understanding that when bad things happen, not if bad things happen, it's when bad things happen, because bad things are going to happen. Like that's just a guarantee. There's not many guarantees in life. That's a guarantee. It's like something is going to not go as you think it will. It's, can you take the road that makes you better?
Yeah.
Can you decide I'm going to get better in these moments? And if you decide that is like it is like a supercharge of like character growth for you and for this team. And so like, I just think like there is an opportunity to be had, one, for some players for playing time, and then two, just for the character of this team to push through. Like there is an opportunity here for growth for portions of this team that they would not have had before. Now, do you want it? Absolutely not. Like, I don't want it. Like, I don't want bad things to happen to me. I don't want bad things to happen to the team. But the truth behind all of that is that there is opportunity for this team to take advantage of a time for growth, for areas that they wouldn't have had. And so you can spin it positive that way if you'd like. The truth is also like it does suck, and you have to recognize like this is a sucky moment for the team. This is not the way you'd want it to be. But then also you have to decide from there, like, what road do we take? Do we feel sorry for ourselves? Do we feel frustrated? Do we feel mad? Do we do all this? Like, there's certainly time for that. But like, if you can bounce back quickly and take the road of let's figure out what we can get better at, then I think that you could find yourself in a pretty good place come April. So hope is not lost with this team. I think that if you saw the fall from Chet and you said like, hey, he's going to be back by the playoffs, I think like you would feel, I honestly, if someone told me that in the moment, I'd be like, okay, good. Like that's how I would feel. So again, I did talk to an orthopedic surgeon this morning that said no surgery. It is a very, very painful injury, takes time to recover, but no lasting effects for him. With this injury, which is like, that to me is like one of the best things, is that, this Thunder team they're not just like trying to make like a 2-year run here. Like they want to make like a decade long run. And like this injury should not keep Chet from being a part of that, which is like honestly like the best news for Chet. That one, he doesn't miss the whole season, and then two, it's not going to be something that's going to affect him, next season and moving forward. So like those are like the good things about this, even though it sucks. So anyways, I've probably rambled like crazy. I'm just alive via pure caffeine this morning. So,
which is a fantastic way to be alive. Super healthy.
Before we go, I do want to give a shout out to the Thunder and Mac Maddox for Down to Dunk night on Friday. It was super fun. To all the dunkers that were there, it was really, really fun. It was good to see everybody. So I'm very, very grateful. It was very fun. Shout out to Nathan Stalded for hitting the half court shot and then winning the shootout after 5 people made it. 5 people made the half court shot, Michele.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is not in line with the stats.
No, it was very, very strange. It was very, very fun. But shout out to Nathan, who did win the prize, and yeah, it was great. So big thanks to everybody, and thanks to Lively for hosting the Fry Pod Live, which was a wild one, but it was a lot of fun. We're very, very grateful for the Down to Dunk community. It means a lot to all of us. So okay, I think that's it, Michele. You got anything else?
No, can't wait to watch the game tonight. Well, which will be tomorrow for me.
We'll see. I kind of feel the same way. I'm kind of anxious to get to the arena, even though it's 8:31 a.m. Like I'm anxious to see how they respond. And so if you want post game shows, we do post game shows on the OKC Dream Team show. Michele and I both do it. If you go to patreon.com/OKC Dream Team, you can listen to those. Last night it was me and Rylan Stiles. I think it'll be Rylan and I again tonight from the arena. So fun crossover. If you've enjoyed Rylan on this show or me on Locked On Thunder, we consistently have that crossover on our Patreon. So go check that out. We honestly have a blast doing that show together. So go check that out. Tonight we'll have that post game. There is a post game last night of that too. So if you want to hear more about, or if you want to hear Rylan sing to me at the end of the pod, he does that. Happy Veterans Day. Thank you, Taylor Venus in the chat. Happy Veterans Day. Grateful for everyone who has served here in the U.S. I hope that you can take some time to just feel appreciated, because we do very much appreciate you on this Veterans Day. So I'm very grateful for that. Hope you guys have an awesome Monday, even though it's a terrible Monday. Try to do whatever you can to make it awesome, and we will talk to you guys again on Wednesday.